cop. Be cool. Oh, it's just Duty Ron. Duty Ron. Fun to say. Duty Ron was live, talking about Summer Wells. I respect the man. Former NYPD detective, retired. Let's get into it. Haven't watched a lot of Duty Ron before. First, impressions. Resembles Dog B, kinda. No offense, Duty Ron. Big fan. Like the show. Duty Ron's got a YouTube plaque in his background. 100,000 plus subscribers. Very impressive. 92,000 away myself, but I'll be earning. Duty Ron tells us he's not at 100% today. He's got a little bit of an upper respiratory infection. Had it for about 5-6 days. So, not having his A game, but he's going to do his best. Early on, I noticed Duty Ron refers to Summer in the past tense. He said she would have been 7 years old in February. So I'm thinking his outlook is grim. Duty Ron says he has a sinking feeling, not a lot going on in the Summer Wells investigation. Duty Ron not real happy with TBI's coverage on the case. No updates. They're not asking for questions or asking the public for help. Not bringing anything out. Duty Ron points out there's nothing in the local media about Summer's case in the Kingsport press and, the local area media, which is not good because when there's nothing in the media, it means there's less pressure on law enforcement to come up with some answers. Duty Ron says the age progression photo of Summer they just put out looks like she was about 9 to him. Me too. I thought it seemed like the photo was way down the road. If you look at what she looked like when she went missing and you look at this progressed photo, it looks like 4 or 5 years down the road. To me, in my opinion. Duty Ron says he knows people. He knows the sketch artists. He can get them to take a look at it, get their thoughts. I'm hoping maybe he gets them to do it anyway. Duty Ron has a buddy, Dr. G, he refers to him as. He's a body language expert. He's going to get him to look at some of Dawn's stuff and see what he thinks about Dawn's body language. He plays a clip where Dawn says he thinks Candace may have chose the wrong friends. Doesn't really elaborate on it, but Duty Ron, like me, thinks, a lot of them pretty sketchy cats. Duty Ron says Candace and Dawn not done anything to help themselves. They look like total and utter buffoons. I concur. Duty Ron says these two don't learn from mistakes. In and out of jail, long history of issues. Once again, agreed. Approved. Duty Ron says they're clearly unfit parents. And if you think they're not, you may need to take a look at yourself. Second approval. Complete and utter buffoons. They've turned this into more than a circus with their actions on YouTube. A rare triple approval. Cause MGL and the crew. Jack-alongs, clowns, bizarrely twisted, fucked up people. His words, not mine. Quadruple thumbs up. I concur. Yeah, as far as we know, there's been no more searching by police. Absolutely no effort on their part to do anything proactive. Yeah. Law enforcement, either they're keeping it real close to the vest or they are running a very lackluster investigation. Duty Ron says Ronnie Lawson and, the sheriff's office where they turned down going on News Nation, that was a missed opportunity to bring, further tips and clues and stuff into the investigation. I agree. Duty Ron says, why did Ronnie Lawson say no to Midwest EquiSearch? Makes no sense. No, it does not. Tons of area to search. Probably hasn't been searched or needs searched better by professionals with equipment, technology. Why you would turn that down makes zero sense. Ronnie Lawson, I'm looking at you, fool. Duty Ron shows the overhead map and he points out Grandis's camper on the map. Duty Ron, one creator to another. Grandis doesn't like being called Grandis, so, anytime you refer to her at Grandis, it may be upsetting her, and I don't want Grandis getting upset. Duty Ron, once again, says, I'm having a really hard time understanding why they're turning down help. As am I. He brings up Brandon Lawson's arrest. Yeah, it looks bad. Ronnie. I don't know what looks so bad about it. Everything's still on the table. Duty Ron acknowledges the church angle. Robin Lane talks about that a bit, but I don't get the feeling he has a whole lot of faith in it. Duty Ron talks about the Suzanne Morphew case, how after they kind of dropped the charges on Barry, that went away. He didn't hear nothing but crickets until, the discovery of the remains. He's showing comments on Screamers. Miss Christine, 55555, she's everywhere. Says the sound of Dawn makes him nauseous. He's full of bleep. Somehow it bleeped, and then he Goes on to say, and I said shit, full of shit. Duty Ron says the playroom looked like a dungeon. I concur. Duty Ron plays some old interview with Dawn, and it shows where there is the gag order on the case, which has come up recently with the media manager posting creepy stuff to the boys. So even Duty Ron's aware of that. Duty Ron does the, put a 1 in the chat, put a 2 in the chat. He says, put a 2 in the chat if you don't think the Wells boys would be safe if they were returned home. A lot of 2 go up in that chat. Duty Ron seems to think when Don's referring to how law enforcement treated him, that TBI and FBI was probably the hard ones on him, and that local law enforcement was the soft ones, the ones Don seems to not be offended by, per se. This is where it gets interesting. Duty Ron talks about people shouldn't be interviewing Candace and Don and H and all this. No way, no how. It's bad for the investigation. Says a person that done that, shame on you. It's despicable. It shows your interest is not in helping Summers' case, it's in helping yourself. Thinking he was throwing shade at Mcdonough. I always thought I always thought, though, it's great for YouTube to have those interviews. It's not great for Summers' case. Duty Ron just confirmed. Duty Ron says once again, I don't buy Don's bag of shit he's trying to sell. Duty Ron says something else. I've kind of thought that investigators missed their window early on by not, treating this investigation as serious as they might have should have, thinking that she had walked off when turns out it's not looking like that was the case, and that early on in the investigation, some steps that they took probably hurt solving this. Duty Ron says that he wants Summer Wells to be brought home so she can be laid to rest. So that confirms that I feel like Duty Ron feels like there's foul play, and it was covered up, an accident was covered up, whatever. But I have a feeling Duty Ron feels like Summer's no longer with us. To sum up, I feel like Duty Ron, being a retired investigator, gives us some insight on, things that we may have thought or things that have come up. And I feel like him saying that law enforcement missed their window early on in the investigation is very troubling. And I think it speaks to this could be a cold case and it could remain a cold case. That's a big fear. Also, I've always thought, the Mcdonough interviews, like I said, though good for YouTube, were not good for Summers' case. And Duty Ron, being a retired police detective, him reinforcing my thoughts makes me think I was right on that that did not help the case at all, especially the H interview. A lot of people think that was kind of questionable to be doing that with him being a minor and then putting it on YouTube, and a lot of people question why Allie would even allow that. One last thing I'd like to say is the local media blackout or lack of publicity to Summers' case is not helping. If anything, it's hurting. We really need more attention brought to Summers' case locally to make the local police, to have some pressure on them to investigate. So everybody locally needs to do anything they can to bring publicity to Summers' case to get more pressure on law enforcement. As long as there's nothing helping motivate them, it doesn't seem they're super motivated. And if they are and we're wrong, albeit so we're wrong, it cannot hurt to put pressure on law enforcement because we aren't getting answers, updates, or anything. And like Duty Ron had talked about, a lot of times active investigations, law enforcement is putting stuff out to the public to try to drum up tips and leads. That's not happening in Summers' case. Let's see if we can help make that happen.